All right, take two. Ran out of memory. Okay, so the the okay, what do I think about life coaches? This doesn't get to the scope of what I think that thinking about the issue merits. So it's okay. One of the things that I wanted to say that I didn't want to make the thread so me centric. Like I'm looking for input that's stimulating. So anybody that has input that I consider to be stimulating, I would like to be a part of the thread that stimulates, like in the to think about the issue. I guess, and I don't know. I gotta gather my thoughts again. Um, so it seems like this isn't so much okay. So life coaches. So okay, here's something to. Is it? Is there a life coach here in this case, or is this just something that we're all exploring together? I'm part of the project, right? We're all part of the project. We're all part of the conversation. So, you know, is it so? If we're all a part of the conversation, what's the scope of what we're talking about? And is it something that we should like? If something strikes you as being interesting to think about, or adding, so giving something that you think could stimulate interesting conversation. What is that something that should require certification to consider? Because that's all we're doing here. We're exchanging ideas. We're stimulating thought, and that influences behavior. So I don't know what certification has to do with it, really, at all. To me, it's just a matter of are these interesting ideas? They get people thinking, and so the demonization of the female video by Daryl Sloan, that was a really good video. I mean, it hit a lot of interest. It hit a lot of points. So, in particular, what I thought was interesting was when he talks about how we used to live, let's say, in like larger groups, and as opposed to, like, let's say, just a man and a woman, one man and one woman being married to each other. And that's an interesting thing to me. That actually, I think that there's something to that to seriously consider moving forward. Now I don't know what the structure of that should be. I have, it's just something I'm messing around. I'm playing around with the idea of it. In particular, something that hits me is the having. So let's say that there was a group of people married to each other. That there would be distinctions between the relationships between the men and the women, and then there could also be, so obviously special bonds within even that. So it's just something. It's really interesting to ponder. What and then so you talked about how sort of we used to live in tribes, and then we changed, and the change was kind of very stressful on our organism. It put a lot of stress on what we are because we're kind of designed to be something different. And I would agree with that actually. That there were benefits, like obviously, I guess, to having certain kinds of relationships, but I do think I'm just going to go back to something. I've already said this before in a post, but I'm just going to bring it up now again anyway because I think it's relevant. I do think larger groups are more stable. That if you have a very small group, like if you have one man and one woman, that's sort of like the most chaotic thing. But then if you sort of like have two men and two women, then it actually creates more stability. And then if you now I don't think that this extends indefinitely. I think that there's a point, and I think that the point, from my perspective anyway, it seems like it would happen pretty quickly. It's not, it's not. I don't think it's 20 men and 20 women. You know what I'm saying? And then too, I think of like there would be that the relationships between the group of men amongst each other would be different than the relationships of the group of women amongst each other, and that the relationships between the group of women would be and the group of men would be different also. So it's just interesting to consider. So Noel did he did his analysis of the sort of like the rise of the fall of religiosity, whatever, religiosity. But so I don't see anybody countering that right now. Like sort of even giving, not that I could counter his ideas using data, but Alex Jones is back on YouTube. So I gotta go back to this. I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. So I was gonna give some idea of what I think could be a counter. So I'll sort of like I'll play the role of defending religion, but not in the sense of it being, not in the sense of like defending Christianity or Islam or any of this stuff. More of the sense like so I listened to Jonathan Peugeot's. Yeah, hold on, I'm making a video. Hold on. Jonathan Peugeot's. Oh my God, I'm not even signed in. Come on. So he did a video. Oh, he art, something on art, like analyzing art, something. Or no, he had a panel. It was a panel of artists, and there was one thing that really struck out at me, in that, and it was the idea of living within the art that you create, and I do. It's my belief that that's an important part of what we are. That's sort of like an extension of the conceptual mind to the external world, and that's something that we need to play with. And take seriously, play with it, but also take it seriously. But that we need to create art constructs that we live in, we're actually part of, and we look around us and we see the art. And that if we don't have that, then there's no basis for us to create, to have, like there's no foundation for groups of people having a sense of a unified consciousness. And that seems fundamentally important to the perpetuation of any group of people, right? Being able to coordinate as if it's all one organism. So, and one of the issues that you might ask with any concept of unification, what's the unifying principle? And I would say that the unifying principle, I would say if you get down to just sort of a really simple idea, it is the art that you're living inside of, the art that surrounds you. So, I don't know, that seems... Is there anything else? Just cracks me up. Okay, I guess that's it.